Hi there folks, this is Phil from Clearwater Airsoft. Thanks for joining me today. I'm at 6mm Airsoft in Rugeley, so thank you to Joe, the owner, for letting me use his wonderful sites and safe zone to make these videos that I can bring to you. Today we're going to look at a new VFC release, the much loved M16A1. So VFC have been on a bit of a splurge lately with their classic line of retro ARs, carry handle gang, hashtag, wrong way around, but never mind. And this is their latest offering in that range. So it's got a combination of new features from the V3, so the steel valve knocker assembly, which is found in like the BCM, MCM-R and the SR16, and all that classic loveliness you expect in a carry handle AR. So a little bit of history. The M16A1 was one of the earliest iterations following on from the XM16E1 as fielded in Vietnam and then later. So it swapped things like the duckbill flash hider for the first A1 type flash hider. So you can notice on this it has ports all around, which was later changed on the A2, so it was completely sealed at the bottom to help reduce kicking up dirt and so on when in the prone position. It has a 20-inch pencil thin barrel profile, which is really nicely replicated, even with the sort of like the ribbing feeling to it. You've got your classic front sight post with a metal sling loop attached. Then you have quite nice in that they replicate very authentically the really pretty awful plastics of the original M16, and it does have a heat shield incorporated into the design, and the hop-up adjustment, unlike some of the newer VFC releases where it's guide hop, where you use the gas block, because this gas block is part of the front sight post, you have the older style rotary wheel underneath there. Moving back, we have a beautifully engraved receiver, which I think you can see there, and that replicates the engravings of the M16 really nicely. The colour is really nice. It's like a sort of dark grey, parkerized grey, and the fire controls are all done in black. You have the A1 pistol grip, and then the A2, sorry no, the A1 stock, which has the trapdoor in it for storing cleaning supplies, which was an improvement over the E1, which just had a rubberized butt pad, so you know all that space in the stock was wasted. It comes with the safe semi-auto fire controls, as you expect, and like all ARs, you can't put it into safe unless the rifle is cocked. If we flip it over to look at the other side, we can see that it has the teardrop shaped forward assist, which on the VFC guns is completely decorative. It doesn't actually function. We have the dust cover and the reinforced guarded magazine release, all as you would expect. There's some marking stampings on the receiver just here. I don't know if you'll be able to see them or not, which replicate, I think, the proof markings and manufacturer markings on the real gun. The bolt is black. I think on the E1 it was silver, so that's another difference. And on the stock, the sling point mounts using the large screw through the bottom rather than having the more traditional style sling loop that was found on the E1. So I think you can agree, externally it's a beaut. It really does look nice, and one of the great things about it, one of the reasons I got it, apart from being a massive AR fan, is that it's really, really light. With the magazine, it just doesn't weigh much at all. I haven't got my scales to hand, but it's pretty on par with what a real M16 of the year would weigh. So what else you get in the box? You get a manual. I'm not going to do an unboxing and get the box out because it's just a blue cardboard box. You get a shorty 20mm magazine, which is the V3 style, so it's got the sort of dry fire catch on it, so you can dry fire the gun if you need to. And you get a speed loader, which comes with a little attachment. I find it's always best just to put a blob of super glue on if you're only going to use this for a VFC gun, and just super glue that on, because they have a habit of falling off really easily and then you're lost. So it's quite a nice package. I think if you can get them in the UK, they're probably about 450, maybe £500 now. I don't know if there are many left, but they are definitely worth getting if you can find one. You might have noticed that I've put what can be the only accessory really. If you haven't got a Night Star, I think was it, it's got a night sun scope. If you want to go full retro night vision, the only option is a 4x20 Colt replica carry handle scope, and I think it just finishes it off really nicely. So that's the externals. Let's have a look inside this little beauty. And like all ARs, it's simply a case of popping the rear pin, pivoting that forward, and then you can see inside the fire control group. We'll take the bolt out, and we'll get to that in a minute. Carry handle can come out. We'll pop the front pin, and there we have the upper receiver. So you can maybe see in there, you can see the hot rubber in the chamber. And then we have the lower receiver with the fire control group, which is really nicely replicated. So now we can go into safe, full auto. And this has got a beautiful trigger. It's so nice. You've got very little pull up, hit the wall, and then it brakes beautifully. And the reset is there. It's nothing really. And then pop. So it's really nice to do that again. There. So I've already done a video on what's steel inside here, so I'm not going to go over that again, but it's very much like a real AR would look like inside. The only difference is perhaps that you do have this Allen bolt in the front of the hammer. Now this is particularly useful if you live in really cold areas and you need to adjust the amount of gas, because that will change how hard and how far that gas knocker is pushed forward. So by adjusting that, you'll get more gas come out. So if you haven't got an MPAS fitted, which I urge you to do, then you will get higher FPS, but you'll also get a stronger blowback action as well. So if it's really cold, that's a way where you can really make sure that the gun's still going to function when it's sort of getting into single digits temperature wise. So that's the lower receiver. Any real AR grip will fit. It's just the standard one bolt down the grip. You do have to be aware that they do have no hole in the pistol grip for the detent, for the safety. So if you buy a real grip, it may well have a hole drilled in. So I just filled that with a bit of plastic dowling on another gun that I've got that utilises the same VFC system. And that way you can make sure it's not going to cause any problems and your safety will still work. We've got a full-sized rifle buffer in there. I'm not going to take it out because the spring will go everywhere, but rest assured it is a full-size one. And because this has the alloy bolt, which has a steel reinforced tooth for catching the bolts catch, it cycles really quickly, much quicker than my BCM, which has the steel bolt. So I argue that sometimes, in fact, all steel isn't better, especially if you live in a temperate country like myself, where it's cold most of the bloody year. So having the alloy bolt, which is considerably lighter, can make a huge difference to how the gun functions. Now, talking of the bolt, let's have a look at that. So here we have the lovely VFC bolt for the M16A1, and you might have noticed the top looks absolutely butchered. This, if VFC ever sees this video, I hope you pay attention, is because they put more thread lock on than is produced in the whole of America per bolt into the gas key. And their bolts are also made of cesium, so when you try and get them off with an Allen key, if you're very, very lucky and you've got lots of heat and it does do what it's supposed to do, you might get them off with the Allen key. Otherwise, you have to do what I've done here and what I've also noticed Explosive Enterprises had to do in their video, was Dremel a flat cut into the bolts so that you can use a flathead screwdriver just to get enough torque on it to remove the damn thing, which is essential if you want to do any maintenance on the bolt itself. And you might go, but Phil, there's only one bolt there. Again, I refer you back to the Chinesium the bolts are made of. When doing this on the rear bolt, it's sheared to pieces, absolutely exploded. So I've ordered some new ones, and when they come, it will be replaced. So I haven't really fired it much since then because it does hold the gas key at a slightly downward angle. Doesn't seem to affect it, and it does cycle, it does fire, but I don't want to put too much stress on the gun. So the bolt is really actually quite nice, apart from that awful flaw. It's quite well replicated. It'd be nice if these holes for gas venting were a little bit more, a little bit deeper perhaps, but I understand with the amount of material here, it's difficult to do that. We have the plastic nozzle, which as standard came with a restrictor, so a little silver restrictor in the nozzle, and that causes all sorts of troubles. It makes the gun cycle very inefficiently. It makes the gun perform basically awfully. So the first thing I do with any VFC that I get, if it doesn't already have it, is I install airsoft surgeon, clearance lie, end pass valve, floating valve into all of the nozzles that I have. Just because, one, the temperature varies so much in the UK that having that ability to adjust on the fly with a 1.5mm Allen key down the front of the nozzle is a godsend. And two, it just seems to make the gun function better. The nozzle restrictor is not a good way to go, and it really does affect the performance. Every gun I've had from VFC, and this is the 7th gas blowback now, where they've had a restrictor, the performance has improved exponentially once that's been replaced with an M-Pass. So if you do nothing else, and literally that's all I've done as well to this, nothing else, is do that. I would say anyway, give the bolt a strip down, a clean, and re-lube it. I've been using some of the Waldo Dynamic lubes. I'll do a little video on those at a later date, especially on the internal parts of the bolt assembly. For the externals, I tend to still use Super Lube where it's metal on metal, just because I think it's a really good lubricant, works very well. I don't see any reason to change that. So yeah, it's the version 3 M4 nozzle. They've replicated the locking lugs quite nicely. They seem quite durable. I've got quite a few VFC guns now. All of them are AR pattern, and they all seem to cycle really well. I've not had any double feed issues. Once I've removed that restrictor, again, the restrictor is what causes all the problems. So it's just, it's a cheap way to limit FPS, but I have it on good authority that all VFCs coming into the UK should now come with an M-Pass installed. I'm not sure from what date that's going to be. So the bolt is, like I said, it's a zinc alloy. I'm not going to take it apart here, but it's got some weight to it, but it's not the heaviest bolt, certainly not compared to their steel bolt, and very much lighter than, say, an AR-10 platform size bolt. But I think they've replicated it really well. You've got the gas key, you've got the cam guide there, on top, which acts as a nozzle guide to keep it nice and straight. My only gripe is with the nozzle restrictor in the front, and then they need to sort out how much thread lock they actually use on these bolts. Even when this was red hot and untouchable without a gloved hand, it still would not budge without cutting that groove into it. So yes, it looks butchered. I have actually ordered a new bolt with an M-Pass fitted because this offends me, and I might keep this as my spare one, or keep it for parts. So there we go, that's the bolts. And then the charging handle is, as you would expect, absolutely nothing fancy whatsoever. It is just a bog standard AR charging handle, and the great thing about the VFC gas platform is that any real charging handle will fit. So you can go crazy if you want to, but you shouldn't, because it's an M16A1 and it should be kept pure. Even I'm not going to put Magpul or rails on this thing, so behave. The magazine is, as we've said, the V3, so you have the gas fill on the back, just below the knocker valve there. These upper parts, which is the whole assembly for the feed lips, they're really durable. I've dropped these on the floor, and they've landed on the feed lips, and the magazine still function really well. Capacity wise, you're looking at 20 BBs, more than enough gas in there to get 20 BBs off, but yeah, I would definitely recommend getting a lot more of the longer 30 round mags. Let's see if you can see it. I don't know if it'll show up too well on here, but you can see there it has like the Colt AR-15 markings on the base plate, which is really nice. You don't get that on the normal mags, so that is quite a nice touch. And the speed loader is just a generic sort of pistol speed loader, and it comes with an attachment so that you can load the magazine, and it just goes on top like that. And I just always try and pop the top BB out once I'm done, just so that if I put it into the gun with the bolt shut, it's not going to cause any problems. I'm using propane, and these have no problem with that. You can actually buy complete base plate, seals, everything for the magazines, valves, everything that you need. So if you do break one, it's dead easy to get replacement parts for them. So we are now on the fantastic 6mm range, and we are loaded, ready to go with the M16. It does seem to overhop a little bit right at the end of its travel, but I know for a fact that the very bottom targets are over 52 metres away, and this is our sailing past, and this is propane gas and 0.28 BBs. I've got to say, the kick on this thing's lovely. It's enough to let you know that you're firing it. In fact, I could probably dial this hop down a bit. If I got my handguard removal tool, I would do that, just to see if that makes a difference. But it's absolutely no problem with range. And there we go. 20 round mag, emptied beautifully, 14 degrees C, propane, 0.28 gram BBs. Just for a laugh, I've got a 30 round mag. Put that in, and we're going to go on full auto. It's really easy to do like 3 round bursts. The cyclic rate I think was pretty good. There was no cool down, there was no venting. The range was consistent. Now I know last weekend I set the FPS on this and it was doing about 274 with a 0.28 BB, so on the limit for joules. I would obviously chrono it every day before I used it anyway, and throughout the day to make sure that as the temperature increased I wasn't going to have a hot gun, which again goes back to my original point in the video about how an MPAS is absolutely vital in this day and age for safe shooting. So thanks for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please drop a comment below and hit the like button. It really helps with the algorithm. And if you haven't subscribed already, why not? There's more stuff to come in the future. I've got some really exciting things on the horizon, and hope to see you on the next video. Bye bye.